So the reason for this trip okay, is last year was our 50th wedding anniversary year. And so we decided to do something special. And I always had it in the back of my mind to go on a safari. And there is an Adventist tour operator in the Chattanooga, Collegedale area. And so that's who made the arrangements, who had organized the safari. And then there was a travel agent that he worked with that we got our flights through. So took off from Des Moines, and as you can see, as is the normal situation, we were supposed to leave at 4:04, and it was already 5:26. And Des Moines to Dallas. At Dallas, we got on Qatar Airways, which was a 16-hour flight. They did feed us well, though. And when you combine that with changing 8 time zones, we left on Dallas on Sunday night. We got into Doha on Monday night. And this is what the lady flight attendants wear, the little caps. I think we had better leg room than some of the American airlines, and like I say, they certainly fed us well and often. And it seemed like a roundabout way to get there, but it was I guess you call it a great circle route. And we flew over almost all of Europe in order to get to the Middle East. And that is the screen showing our flight path. When you get to the Kilimanjaro airport, there are no jetways. So you climb down the steps and you walk to the terminal building. And you're going to see probably more two-legged critters than four-legged critters, because there are a lot of different kinds of birds in Africa. And this is meant to be somewhat interactive, so what do you think this is? Yeah, it's a crow. Only because of the black and white, it's called a pied crow. And this was actually on the airport grounds. And since I am an amateur at this, I have to, I've tried multiple people to explain to me how to how to do videos without jumping through all these hoops, but this is a common sight along the roadways. You'll see a person in and out. You notice that the sides of the roads are well maintained because everybody is herding their animals along to graze. I guess that's one advantage to doing jumping through all these hoops. I can play it again as many times as you want to. So that was a very, very common sight. Yeah, all different kinds of animals, all taking advantage of the roadside grazing opportunities. This was our first accommodations. It was a first-class deal all the way. This was Arusha Planet Lodges. And the buffet was first class also. But time to go on safari. You notice these are all Toyota Land Cruisers. They're much more popular and considered more reliable than Range Rovers or anything like that. Everybody uses Toyota Land Cruisers. And we went to a total of 4 national parks. This is part 1 of today's program is part 1, which will cover the first 2 parks that we went to. And Tarangire National Park is on the way to the crater and to the Serengeti and whatnot, so we went there first. A lot of wildlife, and they're very tame. You get close to them, they pretty much ignore you. This is a ring-necked dove. And this is an impala, a male impala. I thought their horns were pretty neat. If you have any questions, speak up. How hot? Mid-70s. We went to the end of May, first part of June, and the rainy season was just ending. So it was temperate, and most of the time it was mid-70s. Somewhat. It wasn't oppressive. So this is a banded mongoose family. There's at least 4 of them there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. They're sitting in a termite mound. Here's number 1. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. And this one in front is number 4. And there was more to the termite mound, so there are more animals on another peak of the termite mound. This is a yellow-billed stork. And here you can see the beak of the stork better. And that's this little, where's my mouse? This little bird over here is a stilt. We have stilts in America, but they're a different color. We have a pool of water, and the zebras were taking advantage of that. So we're going to compare that with the next one. So now watch what happens. We did not go down to investigate why all the zebras took off. The 2 large birds are crown cranes, sometimes called Egyptian crowned cranes or gray crowned cranes, and then a lot of ducks. This is a starling. We have starlings around here. Not like this. This is called a superb starling, obviously from the superb coloration. That went backwards, I have no idea. Try this one. We got the zebra, we have the wildebeest, we have the elephant. And this is a red-necked spurfowl because of the red band on his throat. And some more elephants. Yes, very close, as you soon shall see. These are white-backed vultures. There's at least two different kinds of vultures, and this is the one kind. And some other birds. See how long their tails are from here to here, and from here clear down to here. They're speckled mouse birds is the name of them. Okay. It's mud bath time. The life of ease. Another bird, and that is a northern wheat ear, I presume because of the little dark spot around the ear. Of course, there are plenty of wildebeest, which are perhaps the most common animal. Now, in America, we have scarlet ibises. There are two kinds of ibis in Africa that I have pictures of. This one is called a hadida ibis. They have a long, curved beak here. They get their name from the sound that they make, like hadida. Now, you were talking about up close and personal. I don't know how this is going to work. I'll play it again here in a second. He is so close that you can actually hear the grass as he is flinging around. And what he's actually doing is shaking the dirt off the grass. hear it? Okay. Those little logs are on the side of the road, so you can see. It's not uncommon. Oh, I have another video. The Land Cruisers are modified so that the roof opens up, so you can look between the side of the vehicle and the roof, and over the driver's seat and the front seats, there's a hatch that flips over to open, and I took a lot of the pictures standing on the front seat through that hatch. I'll do this one once more. And then we're going to focus in on some of these different giraffe one by one. There are at least 3 different kinds of giraffe in Africa. And we can see 2 of them right here, right beside each other. The one in the foreground has a different pattern of its spots than the one in the background. If you look at the one in the background, the white lines between the spots are a lot smoother. And the giraffe in the foreground, the brown spots are much more uneven edges. The one in the foreground is a Maasai giraffe, and the one in the background is a reticulated giraffe. So you see the difference there. They are all together here. So now, which one is this? This is the Maasai giraffe because the brown spots have much more ragged edges as opposed to the one in the background, which had much smoother brown edges. And now we can see the one in the background more plainly. See how even the brown spots are. This is a reticulated giraffe. Okay, cheetah, just lounging in the shade. Another interesting bird. In America, we might think it was a woodpecker of some kind, but it's a red and yellow barbet. So Tarangire National Park does have a river running through it. As you can see, the water level is low, but this is kind of a panorama. You saw a monkey running across. There's an eagle right there, and the giraffe. And then over here we have buffalo, an elephant. So you tend to get a lot of action around the water. Anybody want to see that one again? Yes, There goes another one. And there's another monkey and an eagle standing in the water. There are a number of different kinds of eagles, and we'll come to that, some of that. It was ending. They kind of have two rainy seasons. Yeah, drier. This is that eagle that was standing in the water. This is actually an immature eagle. It's not a bald eagle. There is a name for it, but it's an immature eagle. Technically, it's a battlelure eagle. Okay. I think the caption for this one is, "I'm keeping my eye on you." And these are called vervet monkeys. Oh, what's that? Never mind the oxpeckers on the back of the giraffe there, and there. I'm talking about this thing back here. It's a monitor. I think the tail is longer than the body. What is he doing? He can swim, he can walk in the water, he can walk on land. Yeah, he would be adaptable, and he would. I can't guarantee that he wouldn't get eaten, but since you are going to find them mostly around water, there may not be a whole lot of critters that are going to go in the water after him. And if you consider other lizards of that size, like the Komodo dragon and whatnot, their bite can give you a nasty infection. And of course, the ostrich. Here we have 2 males and 3 females. And on our path through the park, we went down toward the river, and then we're back into the grassland, which is where this was. And then we ended up back toward the river again. And here's that ostrich group. They're down for a drink at the river. Remember that eagle I told you about that was standing in the water? Along comes this other vulture. This is the second kind of vulture. This is called a lappet-faced vulture. And he's moving in. Excuse me. I'd like a drink. Yeah, it's okay, but I got my eye on you. So go ahead, drink up. This is a lilac-breasted roller, so named roller because it kind of does that as it's flying through the air. But it's one of the many colorful birds in Africa. And then we have a hornbill. This happens to be a red-billed hornbill. And then this is a different kind of hornbill. And then another kind of eagle. This one happens to be a brown snake eagle. And that is the last photo from Tarangire National Park. So at the end of the day, then we moved on to our next accommodations. And in the road, alongside the road in the grass, there's this jackal. And we'll see jackals again later. This was our second accommodations. And these are the solar water heaters. So they make good use of the solar energy there. We have some flowers. And on our way to the next park, more cattle just grazing along the roadside. So the main parks that you go to Tanzania for is the crater, Ngorongoro crater. And this is the first gate. And we have baboons, which will be happy to have a handout, but it's discouraged, obviously. So we have a mama and baby baboon. And this is the primary entrance gate. Again, you notice everybody's driving Toyotas. Saw very, very, very few Range Rovers and Land Rovers and that kind of thing. You go into every vehicle has a driver. They drive sitting on the right side of the front seat, like you would in Britain. And they drive on the wrong side of the road. And the drivers have to go into the office on the left side here to get all their permits. And then they have a little gift shop on the right side. Going to be difficult. I see that. Well, that is an airplane. It's called a GB Racer. In the late 20s, early 30s, the US sponsored air races, and this was an air racing. The pilot sits back here in under this little canopy. You know, it looks like the whole thing is mostly engine. So let's see if we can get back to our PowerPoint here. is the one we want. Success. Okay, the rim, you drive along the rim of the crater before you descend down to the bottom of the crater and the lake. It's kind of like driving through a rainforest. And now you can see the lake from the rim. As we're getting a little lower, the trees are getting a little thinner, and so there's openings where you can see the lake. This is an eland, which is the largest type of antelope. And another monkey. These are guinea fowl. There's several kinds of guinea fowl. This one's called a helmeted guinea fowl. Most noticeably, this protuberance on top of the head of this one in front. Here's another one, and here's another one. So they're helmeted guinea fowl. And another large buffalo. And some warthogs, of course. And these are very common, called Thompson's gazelles. Characteristic black stripe on their sides. And this is a water buck. We'll see a lot more of them in part 2, which will be at a future date to be determined. We have another pair of crown cranes. You see these grazing animals together, all kinds, all together all the time. And we have egrets in America. We have the great egret. We have the cattle egrets. This one is just called a little egret. Here's another one of those ibises. Anybody remember which kind that was? By the sound. Hadida. And a jackal. This one, the most common kind of jackal that we saw is a black-backed jackal because of the darkness on the back. And this is the other kind of ibis. You can see one flying, but you can see how long a beak and how curved it is. These are called sacred ibises. We have in America great blue herons, and this is very similar, but it's called a black-necked . Another up and close and personal with an elephant. And this is a secretary bird. It has, can't see it very well, almost quill-like feathers off the back of its head. Oh, what happened here? Yeah, can you tell what it was? Here's a big horn here. Here's a big horn here. Here's the head, teeth, big jaws. Yes, it was a buffalo. And this is the reason why. So they have had their lunch. There are more lions back here, here, here. And this is what the jackal was interested in. Now that the lions have had their meal. There's kind of a whole sequence, and we were privileged to see the whole thing. You notice that the jackal was having lunch, and the vulture is an interested spectator. We'll do that again. The jackal is having lunch, and he's being watched. Jackal's kind of had his fill. He's becoming more disinterested, and so the vultures are becoming more interested. Now, what you need to watch here, see all these shadows in the grass? Comes another one. There goes another shadow. Here he comes. There went another shadow. Yeah, the lions are not that far away. They're far enough away that it's ready to take over. Yeah, in the background of that last one, you may have caught what Jennete mentioned. There was a wandering in the neighborhood, shall we say. More shadows. There goes another hyena. You notice they're partaking. I'm sorry I have to go through all these hoops. Nobody could tell me how to make this process go more smoothly. And the lions decided they were done for the day. Notice the hyenas, they're a little skittish. That one's watching. There comes another one. Another one in the background there. Oh, there comes another one. I think the hyenas see the vultures and they decide to go where the action is. Find out what's going on. Okay, lots of vultures, lots of hyenas. You notice how hyenas all like to grab a piece and go off by themselves. There goes a leg. Right now, the hyenas are pretty much top dog at the dinner table. That vulture decided he'd make way for the new hyena. And we still have the lions clear in the background there. There goes another piece. Another leg. No. Okay, so the hyenas are still at the table, and the vultures are patiently waiting and watching and ready to help out. So moving on. More ostriches. Just kind of taking it easy. And another black-headed heron. Oh, it's lunchtime at the hippo pool. And we had a visitor. This is a marabou stork. That is just a big air sac on his throat. As you can see here. Those two folks were not in our group. There were a number of groups that were having lunch at the hippo pool at the same time. In Africa, there are a lot of what are called weaver birds. This is one of the weaver birds. Over here on the right, you can kind of see a nest in the bushes, which is right on the water's edge. And this is a black-winged blacksmith bird. It's called a blacksmith plover. We have plovers in Iowa, but Africa has a kind called a blacksmith plover. This fella has had his mud bath. And some of our encounters were up close and personal. Okay, this is, we're not down to the lake yet. This is the grasslands. Where? Up here? That's more hills in the very far distance. But we are going to come back to this slide. So you're on the right track. Just so many zebras and wildebeest just taking it easy, scattered all over. In part 2, we go to the Serengeti, and we will be able to show you the great migration of the wildebeest and the zebras. When they migrate, the zebras tend to stay in the center of the migration and let the wildebeest be the prey for the carnivores. And this is, it may look like a secretary bird, but it's not. It's a Cory bustard. It's a good-sized bird. That young zebra obviously survived an attack of some kind. He has this large wound on his side. But it does not appear to be still bleeding, and it's common to see zebras rest their chin on other zebras, as this young one is doing. You'll see 2 or 3 of them do that. And another pair of lions. So, and you can get up close and personal with the lions too. You notice that the male, he does have a radio collar on here. So they have a good idea of, the rangers have a good idea of what's where. Okay, I told you we were going to come back to this picture. Anybody see anything else in this picture? No, this is the hillside. These are hillsides here. No, it's hillsides. But you see this little black spot? Black rhino. And to give you an idea how far away that was, this is the camera that took that picture. So that's a 600 millimeter lens. So I would say this was a good mile, mile and a half, 2 miles away. Certainly a mile away. And that's as big a picture as I could get. But this is the only black rhino that we saw on the whole safari. In the crater In 1998, they estimated they had 15 black rhinos. And today they estimate they have 26 black rhinos. So we felt very fortunate to even see one. A rhino is one of the big five. You know, you have the elephant, the buffalo, the lion, the leopard, and the rhino are the big five that everybody goes to see. And that is a buzzard. And we have a warthog family. A lot of animals don't like to deal with the tusks on a warthog. Okay, do we remember what this one was? The black stripe on the side. Thompson's gazelle. Very nice horns for such a small antelope. More hyenas. You notice the one in front doesn't appear to be wanting to share. And another kind of bird. The bird in the foreground is the best way to see why this bird was named a hammerkop, because the head with the feathers and the beak looks like the head of a claw hammer. So we have 3 hammerkops there sitting around that little mud hole. And this is a goose. It's an Egyptian goose. Okay. What's the one on the left? Black-headed heron. And the 2 on the right are the sacred ibis. We are grabbing closer to the water. Okay. Maybe it's time to move on. And these are coots. We have coots in America. The distinctive thing about the coot, their beak is white. But this is a red-knobbed coot. And we have teal in America for you bird watchers, bird hunters. This is called Cape teal. And we have stilts in America, and in Africa we have the black-winged stilt again, feeding right in the water's edge. And we have grebes in Ireland, and this is called a little grebe in Africa. Very similar to our grebes. It's kind of a diving bird. They're very windy. I don't know if you can hear the wind noise back there, but it was very windy here down at the lake shore. That's just the rim of the floor of the crater is about 2,000 feet lower than the rim. I can't give you the exact number, obviously a very, very long time ago. So we have flamingos. And actually, some of the pictures that you may have seen, there are even more flamingos than this. And we saw more flamingos even at the last park we went to. But this gave me the best close-up pictures as to what's what. Two kinds of flamingos. There's a greater flamingo and a lesser flamingo, and this happens to be a lesser flamingo. And one of the differences is in the beak. And this lesser flamingo, there's also a difference in how they feed. This lesser flamingo feeds near the surface of the water. This is a greater flamingo out in the water. And as you might imagine from this picture, they feed in the mud at the bottom of the water, the bottom of the lake, whereas the lesser flamingos feed near the surface. And the other difference is in the beak. Here on the greater flamingo, only the tip of the beak is dark. Lesser flamingo, beak all dark. Greater flamingo, beak only half dark. And these are a couple of eagles, a different kind of eagle called a battler eagle. And this is another marabou stork, just keeping watch. Been a good day. So we're Time to leave. And now we're looking back at the lake. We're back up on the rim. Thank you for visiting, and welcome again, it says, as we leave the gate. So that's the end of part one. We covered two parks, the Tarangire National Park and the Ngoro Crater. I guess as a footnote, the crater is not called a national park. It's called a National Conservation Area. It was originally part of the Serengeti, but they separated it and called the crater a National Conservation Area because it covers a lot more area than just the crater and the lake bed. And the Maasai are allowed to graze their cattle, their sheep, their goats in the crater conservation area. But in the Serengeti, they are not allowed to cross the boundary into the Serengeti. That's for the wildlife only. So they separated the two. It was originally, they separated it into two different areas so that the Maasai, they could graze. So any other questions? That's you think. Longer than we expected. Our airline schedule was changed about 5 times. We ended up staying